The Mayan civilization has fascinated people since its mysterious collapse in the 9th century. Around 850 AD, after centuries of prosperity and dominance, the Maya began to abandon their great cities. In less than 200 years, the civilization was reduced to a fraction of its former glory. Incredibly sophisticated and vastly alien to the modern world, the Maya believed that the universe was made up of three parts: the earth, Kab, the sky, Kan, and the underworld, Xibalba. They also had a pantheon of gods related to all aspects of life. Some historians estimate that there were more than 200 gods in all, and in this video we will see some of them. Imagine learning something new every day without having to sacrifice your time to get it. The most important information is found in extensive books of several pages, and I understand that it can be frustrating, either because you are lazy to read, because you have children, or because your work demands a lot from you. Luckily today, this problem has an easy solution. With a catalog of more than 90,000 titles, Audible gives you the ability to consume your audiobook without an internet connection, wherever and whenever you want. Audible gives you a free audiobook every month with the monthly subscription, so it's the same as if you were buying a book a month. And best of all, if you cancel your monthly, the books will remain stored in your library forever. Win your first audiobook with the 1-month free trial in the link below in the description, and if you already have Amazon Prime, you will receive 3 months totally free. Number 1. Itzamna. This god was counted among one of the most popular Mayan deities in the pre-Columbian pantheon. He was designated as the king of heaven, night and day. In the mythic narrative, his dominance over these vast domains is powered by innate and even arcane knowledge, as opposed to supernatural strength and unquestioned kingship. To that end, he was often portrayed as a toothless old man with a gentle demeanor, a hooked nose, large eyes, and a cylindrical hat, alluding to his leadership qualities. In some cases, he is portrayed as the son of the powerful but capricious creator god Hunab-Ku, who caused floods to wipe out the human race. Rather, Itzamna is portrayed as an antithesis to his father, as he helps the ancient Maya invent writing, sacred calendar systems, agriculture, science, and Mayan medicine. This suggests that, mythically, Itzamna also played his role in the creation of human beings. In short, he was perceived as a cultural hero who laid the foundation for a civilization that would later flourish. Itzamna is also identified as the husband of Ixchel, and together they were revered as the couple who gave birth to a whole generation of powerful gods. Interestingly, in terms of etymology, Itzamna means lizard or big fish in the Mayan language, with the prefix itz also alluding to divinity, prediction, and even witchcraft in other associated Mesoamerican languages. To that end, Itzamna is also called by other names, including Kukulkan, and being depicted as a feathered serpent or even as a hybrid creature with human and lizard features. Number 2. Ixchel. Ixchel was an important female deity in the Maya pantheon. Often called the Rainbow Lady, the goddess is associated with the moon, weather, fertility, children, and health. In the mythical narrative, she was known for the dual aspect of herself. As goddess, she was represented as a young and beautiful seductress who advocated fertility, marriage, and love. In this aspect, she became associated with both lunar cycles and rabbits, and was often given epithets such as Ixik-U, Moon Lady. Historically, the deity's eminence as one of the important goddesses can be discerned from the depictions of her in works of art and centers of worship. To that end, the Maya may have made a pilgrimage across the Caribbean in ceremonial canoes to one of their temples on the island of Cozumel, now the ruins of San Gervasio. She, on the other hand, was represented as a withered old woman who had the power to create and destroy the earth. Counted among the mighty gods of the Mayan pantheon, the goddess was also depicted with claws, fangs, and a red body adorned with symbols of death and skulls, and this incarnation was called Chak-Chel, Red Rainbow. Number 3. Kinich-Ahau. Kinich-Ahau was the name of the sun god of the Yucatecan Maya, that is, the Mayan people of Yucatan. Interestingly, in some cases, given her association with an element of the sky, the Mayan god is also considered to be an aspect of Itzamna, the aforementioned ruler of the heavens. In a mythical narrative, Ixchel, the goddess of the moon, impresses him by wearing a fine woven gown. and the two eventually become lovers, although their relationship later turns tumultuous. As for the representations, Kinich Ahau, in keeping with her royal status, was often depicted with a hooked nose, large square eyes, and even a beard. And like other comparable Maya deities, the great god was also represented in a dual way in some codices, as an old man with crooked teeth. Incredibly, he was also associated with the jaguar in Mayan culture, as the sun god was believed to transform into the feline predator at night. In addition, he was further revered as the patron god of the unit of day. Number 4. Chak. Chak was the Mayan deity of rain, which made him a very important figure in the agricultural civilization of the Maya. In addition, he was also revered as the god of thunder and storms, with a particular motif based on a myth suggesting how he struck clouds with jade axes to cause rain. Such powerful actions nurtured the various crops, especially maize, which is often attributed as a gift from Chak to the Maya people after he discovered the plant inside a rock, and he furthered the natural cycle of life in terms of regeneration. Now, in terms of history, it should be noted that Chak probably played his symbolic role in the human sacrifices performed by the Mayan priests on top of the pyramid temples. To that end, some of the attendants holding the victims might even have dressed as Chak to represent the 4 cardinal directions. Regarding the myths of the Mayan culture, he is presented as the brother of the sun god, Kinich Ahau. And while these brothers were close, Chak fell in love with the beautiful wife of Kinich Ahau and consequently suffered the punishment for her immoral relationship. To that end, few Mayan legends tell how the rain is produced when Chak cries out for repentance, thus contradicting the axe effect in the clouds. Many Maya kings were revered as rainmakers, which underlines his strong relationship with Chak. Interestingly, despite being the gods of rain, Chak was believed to dwell not in the skies, but in the depths of caves and cenotes. Number 5. Yom Kimmel. Things get a bit complicated when it comes to the mythical reach of the Mayan gods of death. The reason is that there are quite a few deities that were associated with the aspect of death. Yom Kimmel, also known as the fleshless god adopting the state of decomposition, was depicted with his skeletal mask, protruding belly, full of decaying matter, body adorned with bones, and no neck adorned with eyeless sockets. In some narratives, he rules over the 9 subterranean worlds known as Mitnal. Within this hellish realm, Yom Kimmel takes sadistic pleasure in extinguishing the very essence of souls by torturing them with fire and water. Interestingly, his counterpart, or other aspect, Apuk, despite the deadly air of him, has some comedic or scatological elements, some involving flatulence and anus. Number 6. Yum Ka'ax. Known as the Lord of the Forests, he was possibly among the youngest of the Maya gods and goddesses. The deity, as his name suggests, was probably revered as the guardian of the forest and protector of wildlife, both flora and fauna. Often depicted with an elaborate corn headdress and pots of corn cobs in hand, he was possibly worshipped by farmers and hunters alike. The above connection alludes to how the Mayan god was also revered as a deity of agriculture, so much so that many offered their first fruits to the deity of the forest. As for the latter, hunters had to offer special prayers and rituals asking for Yum Ka'ax's permission and guidance, especially when hunting deer. Number 7. Hunhunappu. He was revered as a tragic figure in Mayan religion, which was more important culturally because of his 2 sons, the hero twins Hunahpu and Ixbalanque. In the most prominent tale, Hunhunappu and his own brother were tricked by the Mayan death gods into a ball game only to be sacrificed later. His head was hung as a trophy on a gourd tree. However, the head of Hunhunappu, which still had the divine sentience of it, spat at a passing young woman, thus impregnating her with her saliva. Later, she gave birth to the hero twins Hunahpu and Ixbalanque, who avenged her father by defeating the gods of the underworld. Unfortunately, the twins were unable to resurrect his father after retrieving his head. Symbolically, however, the Maya believed that Hunhunappu was reborn as corn. Number 8. Huracan. Residing in the infinite sky, Huracan, or Heart of Heaven, as one of the main Mayan gods, was believed to be the primordial force unleashed by the dual divinities. The creator gods needed this chaotic force to chisel the order of creation and its manifestation on the physical plane. In a nutshell, Huracan was considered to be the antithetical being whose essence and behavior ironically lead to the survival of life. An example would belong to a mythical narrative that supposes how it was Hurricane who sent a great flood to end an entire generation of humans and invoke the earth for the renewal of life. Given his immense power and his chaotic origins, Huracan was often associated with lightning, wind, and storms, with the former often perceived as a manifestation of both fire and fertility. Interestingly, in some tales, Huracan is the one who opened the mountains with his lightning to reveal the hidden corn seed, which led to the agricultural prowess of the Mayan people. As for the representations, the Mayan god of the storm was represented with a branched nose and a leg that transformed into a snake at the end. Number 9. Ixtab. Incredibly, the Dresden Codex contains a relatively graphic image of a dead or passed-out woman with a rope around her neck, dangling from the celestial sky band. And this mythical motif is often perceived as representing Ixtab, the Mayan goddess of suicide. However, on closer inspection of the Dresden Codex, the image of the hanged woman is depicted in the section dealing with eclipses, and as such, this particular depiction may have signified the occurrence of a lunar eclipse. As for another hypothesis, Ixtab could have been the female version of Atab, a minor Mayan god of the hunt associated with trapping or tricking. Consequently, the female counterpart of her was possibly regarded as the benevolent executioner, who was also associated with cheating. Number 10. Akan. Often associated with alcoholic beverages, Akan was considered one of the Mayan gods who delighted in boisterous celebrations and drinks. Unsurprisingly, he was the patron of the balche, a Mesoamerican cocktail made from fermented honey and the bitter bark of the blash tree. Essentially, Akan was possibly perceived as the divine partier, thus mirroring his Greek and Roman counterparts such as Dionysus and Bacchus. Interestingly, the Maya themselves may have considered this state of intoxication, or drunkenness, to be closer to the patron god Akan. There were even cases where priests and officials got high on other substances, from tobacco and morning glory seeds to mushrooms. In some cases, Akan was also depicted as a close friend of Kukoc, the Maya god of creative endeavors, also underscoring how the artistic style was seen as an extension of recreational activities. Number 11. Ekchua. Ekchua was a post-classic Mayan deity who was revered as the patron of both merchants and cacao. He was possibly also perceived as the protector of travelers among the Mayan gods, as can be discerned by the depiction of him with objects such as a backpack and spear. Taking the depictions, Ekchua was usually shown as a deity that was streaked with black and white or was completely black. Her mouth was rimmed with a reddish-brown border, while her lower lip was large and droopy. In the Mayan culture, cacao was treated as currency. Thus, by extension, as a merchant god, he was seen as the patron of cocoa merchants and cocoa plantation owners. In that sense, many of these merchants even held festivals in honor of the merchant god, particularly during the harvest. Number 12. Kukulkan. Also known as the feathered serpent or Quetzalcoatl in Aztec mythology, Kukulkan's origins date back to the late pre-classic period, as evidenced by a depiction of the serpent god found at the Olmec site of La Venta. The stela, which dates to sometime between 1200 and 400 BC, represents a snake that sticks its head out from behind a person. More elaborate depictions of the serpent version are found on the six-tiered Maya pyramid built in honor of the god, dating to around the 3rd century AD. Incredibly, given the diversity of cultures in Mesoamerica and the ever-evolving nature of myths and traditions, Kukulkan, as a central figure, was also portrayed in ways that went beyond the morphology of serpents. For example, there are some representations of Kukulkan dating from around 700 to 900 AD. Some of them possibly even drew inspiration from human rulers who carved their legacy by influence and conquest. The question may be raised, why was the deity particularly associated with a serpent? Well, according to some scholars, the snake in its most basic form in Mesoamerican culture could have represented the earth and vegetation. Archaeologist Carl Taub hypothesized that the feathered serpent, by virtue of its evolved morphology, may have been associated with fertility and intricate political classes in the region. Number 13. Camazotz. While not exactly counted among the Mayan gods, Camazotz was sometimes fused with divine entities. However, Camazotz is the name attributed to humanoid bat-like creatures, or rather vampire-like entities, that are downright dangerous and vicious, so much so that one of them cuts off the head of a mortal hero, only to later play with his head in a gruesome ball game. Interestingly, in terms of conventional zoology, all 3 known species of vampire bats are actually native to the New World. So, it really comes as no surprise that it is Mayan mythology that brings up the legend of a mythical vampiric creature. But the fascinating part is that the Camazotz legend bears many similarities to the well-known vampire stories of later times. In that sense, some narratives describe Camazotz as a purely evil entity with the sole purpose of causing terror. Unsurprisingly, in some depictions, Camazotz was depicted holding a sacrificial knife in one hand and a human or victim's heart in the other.